This blank check is made payable to meeting Jesus on E Street. What if God was one of us? Just a stranger on the bus trying to make his way home. Joan Osborne. I was 6 years old and I thought that I had met Jesus himself. I was with my grandparents in my grandpa's old 57 Chevy truck. And my grandma pointed out a man on the side of the road, and in Spanish she said to my grandpa, "Look, there's Jesus." Now, me being a young kid, I believed everything my grandma said without question. And because my grandma said it, I believed that this was the Messiah walking down E Street in downtown San Bernardino in the daytime. It was this moment of pure excitement and awe. So I went all in. And I stuck my head out the window and I started waving and I shouted as loud as I could, "Hey, Jesus!" And then a miracle happened. He looked over at me and smiled as only a Messiah could. And I sat back down and I felt I had done something amazing. Something that would wipe away my sins and even my bad grades. But my wave of super holiness would soon come crashing down later that night. I overheard my mom having a conversation with my grandma about a man we had seen who looked like Jesus. What? My heart sank. I jumped up. I was furious and I was embarrassed. And I thought to myself, did I commit some great sin for glorifying some random dude in ripped clothes and sandals? And I felt like I had been betrayed. But in my 6-year-old rage, I never considered that maybe it was me that misunderstood the situation. Or maybe I just saw what I wanted to believe. But I was left with this question. If I can't trust my own eyes or my grandma, who can I trust? And this experience taught me a valuable life lesson about the importance of what I believe. See, as children, we are taught to believe everything that we're told. We're told to listen to our parents, listen to elders, trust our church leaders, and even our politicians. Adults, you can be so self-righteous. But as you grow older, you learn to question and analyze all of this information. And then, somewhere along your life point, there comes this time when you think to yourself, maybe these people really don't know everything they're telling me. And their answers start not making sense. And then you find that their words can even lead you to a place of disappointment and frustration. And I know way too many people who have lost faith in God because they haven't received the answers they were looking for, either at church, within their family. They feel they've cried out for help, but they haven't had a response. They maybe went to a church sometime and were met with a superficial, "Hey, how are you doing?" And maybe they tried praying, but they never heard a voice speaking to them. See, what you believe about God will shape how God speaks to you. And how God speaks to you, or doesn't, shapes everything you do. So what voice do you believe in? What voice guides you? In today's world, it is becoming increasingly difficult to distinguish between a lie and the truth. We even have algorithms and intelligent artificial voices designed to reinforce what we believe and also even block us from considering other viewpoints. But sometimes, when you let the voice of others lead your beliefs, it can lead you to see something that really isn't there. Or it may actually keep you from seeing what you really need to see. Now, There's nothing wrong with listening to the advice of others. But I've had so many times that I overlooked that inner voice inside me, and I listened to what someone else was telling me, and I ended up frustrated. I ended up disappointed, and I ended up hurt. And I had to learn the hard way to block out all of those voices and listen for that inner voice speaking to me. It's not simply the voices that I can hear. I'm looking for the ones that I can feel. It's that voice that I don't need anyone else to confirm what I already know. I know because I can feel it. And I find that divine voice in the ordinary, each and every day. I believe that God can be found in unexpected people, places, and circumstances. And maybe that guy walking down E Street wasn't Jesus. But perhaps, maybe he was a messenger from God, simply to give me a message about faith and trust. And I've also learned that faith is a long, ever-changing journey. And sometimes the answer is not as simple as your Savior in a Starbucks right in front of you. And I also wonder how many times have I had this heavenly interaction, but in that moment, I just didn't realize it. Because you see, every single day, we have moments to meet or experience Jesus. It can be in a song or in a chance meeting with a stranger. Or maybe that friend that gave you encouragement at the moment you needed it the most. That stranger that unexpectedly returned a lost item. Or that quiet moment of peace that you find in nature or in that accident that was avoided by a sheer miracle. When my daughter was about 2 years old, we were on vacation in New Orleans, walking the streets of the French Quarter. And I saw a homeless person with a blanket covering over them, huddled against the wall. Quickly, I pulled my daughter to the side of me to create space between my daughter and the person on the floor. But of course, being an inquisitive 2-year-old, my daughter stopped right in front of this person and started looking under the blanket. And suddenly, the person lifted the blanket and our eyes met with a woman. A woman whose life struggles had broken her down. And she then said something to my daughter. And she said, "You're smiling at me. No one ever smiles at me." Hearing her voice broke my heart. As in this moment, my daughter showed me how to see people in a way that Jesus sees them, with compassion, no expectations, and no judgment. In that moment, my thoughts went back to that experience with my grandparents, and God spoke to me. My encounter with that man on E Street may have not been what I originally thought it was, and that whether you were on Bourbon Street or E Street, every day we have the opportunity to see Jesus. We just need to look at the world through the eyes of a child.
If God had a name, what would it be, and would you call it to his face? If you were faced with him in all his glory, what would you say? If God had a name, what would it be, and would you call it to his face? If you were faced with him in all his glory, what would you say? If God had a name, what would it be, and would you call it to his face? If you were faced with him in all his glory, what would you say? If God had a name, what would it be, and would you call it to his face? If you were faced with him in all his glory, what would you say? If God had a name, what would it be, and would you call it to his face? If you were faced with him in all his glory, what would you say? If God had a name, what would it be, and would you call it to his face? If you were faced with him in all his glory, what would you say? If God had a name, what would it be, and would you call it to his face? If you were faced with him in all his glory, what would you say? If God had a name, what would it be, and would you call it to his face? If you were faced with him in all his glory, what would you say? If God had a name, what would it be, and would you call just a slob like one of us, just a stranger on the bus, trying to make his way home. Oh, what if God was one of us, just a slob like one of us, just a stranger on the bus, trying to make his way home.
And we'll see you next time on The Blank Check.